Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm Jillian.
And this is 100 examples of how to launch
And not launch
your paramotor. Not bad. Ooh, in the water.
Lean back, full power, clean it all the way down.
Oh, Superman.
You tried to fly, didn't you?
If you're struggling with launching or landing and you don't know why, this video could help you figure out some stuff. I've been instructing here at Aviator Paramotor for about 3 years. I've seen probably a couple hundred students come and go. I've taught many of them myself, watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of launches and landing, and at this point, I've seen it all. Anything that has gone wrong has happened here at least once.
We've spent many hours working with students on launching and landing. And in each class that we do, we take an in-depth look at the videos of the students as they're progressing. And so this is something we do on pretty much a daily basis, looking at videos, critiquing, and seeing how students can improve. And now let's take a further look into these videos.
This is stable winds, 0 to 5 miles an hour. What would you call that? Light wind?
Very light wind, yeah.
Light to no wind. All right.
All right, wind's coming up sideways. Good abort on that. He's probably set up crosswind. It's super hard to set up when there's very little wind. And sometimes you just can't tell what direction it's coming from.
Very nice. Looks like he's chasing it a little bit. So he's making the corrective actions, but he's doing it for too long. So you can see as he's going and taxiing the wing, he's stepping left underneath it, stepping right underneath it, but he's just going a little bit too far with it, and it swings back from side to side.
Right.
The more kiting you do, the easier you'll be able to feel when the wing is centered back above you.
I would say his hands were pretty far up towards those pulleys as well. You always want a little bit of tension so that you can get further input as to what the wing is doing. I know you don't want too much brake input in light winds, but his hands are pretty much straightforward. He's probably getting no input of what that wing was doing. So just having a little bit of brake pressure and always checking your wing tips to see where it's going as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is a classic one.
Very good. Start to get that pressure in. Very nice. Slowly get those hands back up. Excellent.
I think the biggest thing I saw on that one was he came kind of straight down with his arms. He just used way too much brake input on that initial inflation, and that can really slow the wing down and keep it from wanting to inflate and give you some issues with control once that wing is up. But his power seemed pretty good.
So at this point, you can see he has recognized the wing is not straight above his head. He realizes that it's off towards his left, and he's making the correct brake input to correct for that. But look at his other hand. His left hand is also pulling at least a foot, maybe close to 2 feet of brake pressure. So that's just taking any pressure that his right hand is doing and is fighting against it. Mm-hmm. So in reality, he's adding a whole lot of drag to that wing. He's lucky he has a nice breeze here, and he's giving it some power. All right, power is helping him move forward. It's giving him energy, giving the wing energy, so he's able to recover. But if he had gotten that left hand up, he wouldn't have to pull near as much right pressure, and sliding left is super effective as well, which he doesn't do until Fletch comes on the radio and reminds him to slide left with it. Then the wing comes back straight overhead, super quick.
Super important for light wind to always use your body first to get under the wing before applying too much brake.
Very nice. I like him checking his wingtips, making sure he knows where that wing is, but he's not hyper focused on the wingtips. Ooh.
All right.
Excellent.
So pretty much as soon as he was getting up to that full power, he let his legs kind of go limp. One thing we always tell our brand new students is to keep running at least 30 feet in the air. At any point you could come back down to the ground, and you want to have those legs ready to run. You also saw that as he let those legs stop running, he dipped down a little bit. That's because he wasn't quite catching the full capacity of lift that he should be, and so that wing wasn't quite ready to lift him up yet. He was kind of doing the lifting for the wing. So he nearly escaped hitting his butt on the ground, but we always encourage people to keep running all the way into the air and try not to jump into that seat.
And you can tell he added a little bit of brake pressure there as well when he felt himself starting to sink. And that did save him from coming all the way down. But it's dangerous to get in the habit of pulling brake pressure to get off the ground, because if you get in that habit of pulling a lot of brake pressure, you could be in the danger of stalling your wing or having a parachutal launch, neither of which is a good thing. But it was a really good taxi. You can tell the wing came up and it didn't want to go where he wanted to go. All right, so let's go back here. So you can see initially here, it's heading towards the cameraman. It's heading towards that paramotor that's on the ground right there. But he doesn't get hyper-focused on it, all right? And he kites the wing. He steers it in the direction he wants it to go. He's at taxi power here. He's not launching yet. He's still at taxi power. He's making sure he's passed all the obstacles. Once he's sure he's got a clear runway, then he launches. There's no emergency launch. There's no trying to thread the needle. You can taxi that wing as long as you want to, and then go when the launch is nice and safe.
Another thing that would have been helpful for him is to start to lean back against that motor. He had really good standing up posture, and it probably was one of his first flights, so he wasn't super focused on that lean back. But if he were to be a little bit more leaned back, it wouldn't feel as awkward running coming into that full power, and he maybe felt like his legs tripped up a little bit.
Yep. You can see once he starts flying there, there's that rotation into that correct flying position. That's because the wing's now like, all right, this is where we're supposed to be. You want to be in that position from the moment you go into taxi power. Then there is no swing. You're just lifted nicely off the ground. It is Micah. He's coming tomorrow.
All right.
Very good.
In the beginning of the video, you can hear the instructor, Micah, say easy on the A's. He had those A's kind of pushed forward a little bit. You always want to allow your arms to come fully back and straight up, so you're allowing that leading edge to not curl over, because that impacts the way it's going to inflate and the air flowing into it. Also, you're going to have a much easier time launching that wing in light wind, keeping those arms back rather than trying to force that wing forward.
The rest of this is, I think, is pretty good. All right, we're gonna speed through these because we got 100 launches to do. All right. Jersey's for slow motion. Oh, beautiful.
Focus face.
Excellent. Wingtip check. You saw that wingtip. He's kiting it to where he wants to take off. A good runway.
Pretty good posture. Could start leaning back at this point.
He's also, I don't think he's adding too much power. Here comes the power.
Yep.
And we ramp down the slow motion. He's getting that lean back in. Just keep running at this point.
Just running.
A little bit of brake pressure, not too much, just down to your shoulders.
Very nice. And he kept
Beautiful.
running into the sky. That's what we like to see. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Well done, guy.
Literally his name, Guy.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's great.
I did not know that. Scary.
That's cool. I like that name.
That's cool. All right, this is a expert level launch
Pretty
site
lean.
right here. All right, I would have taxied that a little more and gone not towards the water, because you could tell just real quick. I mean, he was desperate to get in the air. He was pulling a ton of brakes. And, you know, just like jumping off the ground, because he's like, I got to get off the ground. I would have just gone to the right.
Right, yeah, it is more of a advanced takeoff zone, but he does have all that space there. If he felt like he was going at the water, he could have shut it down and, you know, set up in a different spot.
These are kind of things that if you brief in your head before you even start to launch, like, you know that the object that you don't want to go, like if you're feeling you're going that way, either shut it down or do a big step towards it and add that opposite brake, and you might be able to save it. Here he has a lot of time. I feel like that he could have taxied the wing before starting to add power. Like right here, like he's even pointing the way he wants to go. And I think it's just a little bit of that fear and trying to run away from the water instead of giving a few steps towards it.
Right.
But I mean, he gets in the air. Let's watch this guy. Ooh, oh God, what's going on?
See, he saw himself running towards that water and he shut it down. Unfortunately, that wing landed on the water.
So let's see why this goes wrong in the first place. So look at the way the wing is coming up and look at our body posture, all right? From probably the moment we start inflating, we have this desire to run away from the water in the direction we want to go. The wing starts coming up and going towards the water. So the correct action here would be to run towards the water, adding a little bit of right brake. He does have room to slide, but the desire to go the way we want to and run away from the object, that's ultimately going to bite us here. But a good shutdown, obviously. Turn towards the wing, that's always super important. You can basically blow any launch, every launch, as long as you turn and face the wing. Don't let those lines go in your prop or that wing go in your prop. All right, redemption, much better. And he runs towards the water, very nice. Adds opposite brake.
Much better.
There you go.
So yeah, anytime you feel uneasy about a takeoff, definitely, you know, shut it down, reset up in maybe a safer spot where you have a little more room and try again.
Move smoothly. More speed, touch of power, power, power.
Excellent.
Power, release it.
A little deep on the brakes. Very
I
deep
noticed that
on
on
the
that
brakes.
last launch as well.
Yeah. So you never want to be down here, guys. Let's go a little bit
brakes
further
may
back.
be a little longer, however, you can tell in the trailing edge of the wing that he's really punching those brakes down and kind of cupping the back of that wing.
There's age-old saying here at Aviator that this is the green zone, and you can pull pressure into here pretty much without any consequence. From your shoulders down to about your chest, that's the yellow zone. You can pull pressure in here for a little bit of time before things start to go wrong. Past down to here, that's the red zone. You can only pull pressure in here for a short period of time before the wing's gonna stall or do something bad.
Montana.
I don't wanna go here so bad. Very nice.
Oh yeah. Jumped in the seat a little early, but
Shame on him.
that was really good takeoff.
Yep, steered straight down the gravel bar for the longest takeoff available. Hands were up. This is a very difficult advanced launch, trying to launch in such a narrow pathway like this.
In between buildings. Yeah.
It seems like there is a slight crosswind as well. And again, you just got to be prepared to step under the wing quickly, identify which way the wing is wanting to go, step under it, add a little bit of that opposite brake, and you're going to have to maintain that on a launch like this where you're launching crosswind but on a straight path. You're going to have to hold that little bit of, opposite brake during the launch, but very nicely done. This looks like
Gosh, these mountains are
so
getting me
beautiful.
jealous.
I know. It's hard not to hate people flying here. I think this is this Nell? Oh, very
that's
nice
Eric.
correction.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
super quick correction to the low side of the wing. Very awesome. You can tell a little deep on the pressure, but
That was really good though.
yeah, super
Yeah.
good. This is an interesting LZ. Well, yeah, little quick jump in the seat there.
Yeah, the wing was a little oscillating as well, but
It's difficult. That launch site looks super difficult because he's clearly, they're facing into the wind, but if they continued launching or climbing out in that direction, they got a tree line. So at some point they're gonna have to turn and continue launching crosswind, and that's a difficult skill of managing the opposite brake so you can keep the wing steered the way you want it to go, because it's always gonna want to weather vane back and go into the wind. So if you're not holding any brake and trying to run straight into a crosswind, your winging is going to go to one side or the other, and it's going to want to go further and further off until you use that brake to correct it. And you don't want to launch with the wing off to one side because you'll swing underneath it. Nice application of power as the wing comes up. You can see that prop start spinning. Ooh.
A little deep in the brakes,
Yep.
maybe?
Oh, way deep. Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
this
so
is a good
the wing
one.
wasn't quite in control before he came into that full power. Seemed like he was deep in the brakes. The wing was hanging back behind him. He came straight into full power, and you could tell as he was being lifted, that wing was not in control because it oscillates over to the right.
Yeah. What would you say that is? Inches, Jill?
Yeah,
He's cutting grass there. This is launching during an oscillation. Now, I mean, he gets away with it. The reason I think he launches in an oscillation here is simply because he's trying to launch and turn at the same time. And that's a difficult proposition. He may have even touched the ground there a little bit. He gets away with it, but yeah, you really want to steer in the direction you want to go first. It's even harder to launch in a turn. You know, launching crosswind is one thing, but launching into a turn is a completely different thing. Very difficult.
I always feel like the messiest launches too are those that are rushed into the sky. So make sure you have control of that wing before you come into full power and just huck yourself off the ground like that.
New Hampshire. Good correction, good stable, good lean back. Kept running. That's textbook, guys. A little early on the release there. See it surge up into that full flying. Ooh, yeah. So that release is here. All right, still a little far back. You can see as he adds power, the wing kind of surges up into its true flying position. This is that parachutal position where it kind of feels like it's flying, but it's not flying. And if you continue to add power and add brakes, if it's in this position, it'll aerodynamically stall the wing and it'll just kind of fall back and you fall back with it. But it does come up and you feel that surge. You feel like a kind of a bit of lift, but all of a sudden it surges forward and you get put back on the ground with all that power. Adds brakes and there's no taxi, it's just power, and he's heading towards people, wings, hangars. If he has a motor problem right here, like a motor out, he's gonna be landing on them. I would have definitely taken my time, steered to the right, and then added power.
Johnson Q.
Oof. See the master? God, I love that light on the spars. It's so cool. Yeah, so we can't, it looks like he's deep in the brakes, right? So, but we can't see his wing. We don't know how much the trailing edge is deflected. And watch how he comes up. Like as soon as he's getting off the ground, he still has his feet down and he's bringing his hands up, which is typical as you start to see more advanced pilots fly. That's how you'll see them launch, where they get a little bit of brake pressure, maybe even a little bit more than you would see regularly. But as they start to feel that lift, those hands are coming up while those feet are staying down until our hands are all the way up. And then we know the wing is flying, we've got the speed, and we can pop right off the ground.
Johnson Q is an experienced pilot. He's part of our aerodyne team. And in this video, he's demonstrating a foot drag takeoff, which is more of an advanced technique.
Yeah, he's getting into the international slalom game now, so.
Ooh, a little trip up by Mike Brown.
Oh, yep, quick, nobody saw that. So let's see here. I think he just steps over, he gets a line caught around his foot, because you can see as he's walking out there, boom, his foot comes up.
Mike Brown is probably a 6'5" instructor of ours here at Aviator, and he's got those long legs, and I'm not surprised that it got caught up in the lines. But be aware of your surroundings as you're going to launch. Make sure
you can see him now, like kicking the lines out of the way, holding those risers out.
Yeah, set your risers out nicely, set your wing out nicely, and make sure you're not standing on lines before you go to run.
And see, that's kind of that more advanced instructor kind of Johnson Q launch where there's a decent amount of brake being held, right? But our feet are still down, and as soon as we stop running, our hands are coming up as we accelerate to allow that wing to get to full flying speed. It is a bit deep. It's, you know, you don't want to go too deep with it, but that's where wing control and a lot of experience kiting comes into play. So, obviously this guy's showing off.
Another
And he
foot
didn't die,
drag
so
takeoff.
yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool right there.
That
You
is
can't hate that. Not a lot to debrief.
He knows what he's doing. Eric Farewell himself.
So that's a lot more of like with the brake pressure I'm talking about here. So you can see just a little bit of brake pressure, but as he's coming off the ground, boom, hands come up, and that wing is accelerating to full flying speed. And then don't do this, obviously. Stupid shit down low.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Moving over to switchy and gusty 0 to 5 mile per hour winds.
This is like the hardest takeoff conditions because the wind is light and it's not coming out of a consistent direction. So you set up one way and then it's coming this way, and if you choose to like reorient by the time you're finished, it's coming from a different direction, and it's just getting that crosswind takeoff technique, and that wing control is super important. That was a really good launch.
That was really good.
You have anything to say about that?
It's just pretty to watch.
Yeah, it was very good. All right, on to the
I
next
keep
one.
forgetting to look at the camera.
No, that's perfect. No, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
It's a little bit heavy on the power there initially. So it seemed like maybe it was hard to see what the wing was doing, but when you have a lot of power like that, when your wing goes through your prop blast, it disturbs the wing and can make it do funky stuff as it comes up. So it's better to inflate the wing with at most just a touch of power, very little, and then as it goes up and is past that area where your prop blast is going to go, then you can add power safely and it won't disturb your wing. And yeah, so I think it's just that prop blast.
Who is this? Because I keep seeing this wing.
Very quick launch, very expert launch. Normal winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour, so a little bit stronger but consistent direction. So that's probably about 5 miles an hour right there, a good steady 5. This is like the easiest launching that you can get. Got that wind working for you, you don't have to run super hard. Super nice control right here. Just get that thing straight over your head. Still oscillating both, in roll and in pitch a little bit, but work with it. Obviously, this is a new student here. They're on their mojo. This could be their first flight for all we know. It's not gonna look perfect, and the mojo can compensate for a lot, but yeah, you wanna get all these roll oscillations and then pitch oscillations back and forth. You wanna make sure those are stabilized by the time you go into power. But he kept running.
He did, that looked nice. All right. Biggest thing I saw there was his posture. He was very leaned forward, and he has the wind to keep that wing up for him. Doesn't have to be running super hard, but anytime you bring power in, would you rather have power pushing down on your back, or would you rather have it pushing you up into the air? So that's why posture is such an important thing. You want to stand up nice and tall as soon as that wing is up, and as soon as you get into 30% or more power, start leaning back. That motor is going to hold you up, and it's going to allow for a lot more lift and for it to be easier to run as well. Other than that, good control.
Very nice inflation here. I love how far his arms back. That's like the key to inflating. And
Kelly?
let's see, something went wrong here.
That's Kelly.
Oh, yep. So, yeah, there it goes there.
Whoops.
Yeah, you need that.
Rerouted it.
So, I mean, technically he could have recovered and continued the launch, but when something as big as like a brake toggle gets loose, it's better just to abort right there, reset, and start over from the beginning.
Right, if he had had enough wind and had kept running, he might have been able to just, you know, re-grab it, keep kiting that wing, make sure the wing looks perfect before adding in more power. But he decided to kind of just slow down, re-grab that brake, turn around, reset.
My brake.
You can tell by the beard.
He's like, my brake. We know. All right. This is Kelly again. All right. Way deep in the brakes.
To all the grasses.
And then, ooh, turn around there. So, yeah. So whenever it was initially, the failed launch was caused by a super deep check in the brakes. But then, you know, that's fine. All right, we can fail as much as we want as long as we know how to turn around and face that wing. So watch, this is not how to turn around and face the wing. You can see the wing is falling to his right side. What you want to do is duck and turn to your right. All right, get those lines away from your prop. His prop, he may have killed the motor at this point, but on clutched motors, your prop is going to be spinning with a lot of energy and can still break lines or chop through your wing even after you kill the motor. He turns the wrong way. He starts turning to his left, which is going to bring that riser back into the prop. It's literally going to do the exact opposite of what you want. It's going to take those lines right to the prop. So make sure you do lots of kiting and lots of practice turning around so you know what that low side is and how to abort a launch.
There you go, a little better. Ooh. Oh, yeah.
He had his legs down and it was stopped running, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't penalize him too hard on that one. Kelly goes again. Very nice power, super smooth.
Yep. Just have a habit of getting in that seat a little low, especially as a beginner student pilot. You want to wait a little bit longer to get in that seat.
All right, what happened here? All right, so it's going off to his right side. There, he came off the power, which is only going to work against him. It's going to make it harder for you. You're going to have to add more of the, oops, so here we go. This is where we start getting off our wind line, all right? So we're turning, we're trying to chase where that wing is going instead of sliding underneath it. And you can see obviously here, if we're trying to chase and turn towards it instead of slide underneath it, we're going to bring our lines in contact with that prop. All right, so you can hear him start to tap there. At this point, he does the right thing. He kills the motor. All right, at this point, I would definitely be turning around, trying to run out from underneath those lines. We won't get to see how that one ends, though.
Nice.
Nice. Power saved him right there.
Yep.
I'd just say the brake position, his arms are out in front of him. They should be more by your ears. But yeah, that was a really good example of that, adding that power at a good time. So you start adding, helps that wing come up. Good taxi. I don't ever see him look at his wing. So that's another thing that you want to do. You want to look at both your wingtips. Make sure you don't have a cravat or anything because they're harder to feel when you're slower moving because it's not adding too much drag. So you actually have to visually look and make sure you have a good wing before you take off and then take off. Because once you're in the air, then it adds a lot of drag because you're moving fast and can hook you into a hard turn. So this is a little bit higher wind because it's reversible at this point. Not super high wind because he has to run in the reverse. Like there's never a period where he can just stop and kite. So I'd guess this is probably what, like about 7 miles an hour?
Yeah, 6, 7, and you could see how much he was struggling when he turned around to run.
Mm-hmm. And clearly this is Eric flying and he opted to go for the forward launch. So in that kind of 6, 7 mile an hour range, it gets, you know, kind of in between forward and reverse. It's like kind of pick your poison. Mm-hmm. Above 7, I would say reverse is kind of the only option to be safe. And below 6, I'd say forward is really the right way to go.
All right, let's just take a look at some takeoffs from endless foot drag.
Wow. I couldn't see anything wrong with that one. Could you, Joe?
A little something, yeah. Someone was
There was
someone was dangling there
What's
by his
that?
legs.
Oh, God.
Thankfully, he had his phone tethered to either his body or his harness. A lot of people don't attach their phones to themselves, so if they were to drop their phone, it would go flying to the ground. But it seems like maybe he didn't properly pre-flight where everything was. His phone wasn't properly hooked into wherever he keeps it, and it ended up falling during his takeoff and kind of dragging down by his legs, which, you know, in this case, wasn't the end of the world. He got off the ground, didn't seem like there was any damage. However, it could maybe go into his prop, it could trip up his legs, it could do something to intervene with that takeoff. So you always want to make sure everything is in a safe location. Do your pre-flight and make sure nothing's going to go wrong before you take off.
Yeah, I've had sunglasses on a croaky that I had around my neck come off and go through my prop. So yeah, things that dangle are not great things.
Like your throttle.
I forgot about that one. Thanks for bringing that up, Jill. I also put my throttle through my prop. Yeah, I got a new cruise control off-grid, super awesome. Don't take it off your hand and put it in your lap to get something out of your pocket, even if it's just for a second, because as soon as you look away from it, it goes off your lap and right into your prop. So, yeah. Whoa! All right. Good correction. Slid to the right. All right, a little deep in the pressure there, and
Oh, really oscillating.
yeah, very, very aggressive turn there.
The skies look a little questionable.
Yeah.
So, you know, it may have been a little gusty, a little turbulent. He was launching towards a lot of obstacles, so maybe there was, you know, wind coming off that. But definitely as he took off, he wasn't in the most control. He started swinging over to the right, to the left, whether that was turbulence or pilot input. You want to, you know, make sure you have nice control of that wing.
Yeah, could have been an aggressive turn there to get away from those
as
obstacles. But, yeah.
Reese?
Is this Reese?
Is that Reese?
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
looks like Reese. Yeah, it's on a Kona.
Yeah, it's the Kona.
Excellent. Good power. Good wingtip check. I guess that's a mile visibility. Very nice application of power here.
Is that Caleb? Woo! Whoa! Okay.
So-
that one goes at the filmographer, or
Yeah.
videographer.
Yeah.
Maybe don't get that close to someone's prop
Yeah.
as they're taking off. Could potentially hit you in the head.
I think I would go with the pilot on this one. I feel like the videographer is an obstacle that it's on the pilot to avoid. But yeah, it was a very good launch. I would say he was probably a little bit lean forward there coming
Yeah.
into that power, but very nice. Very nice. A little bit of a burst of power there by mistake at the beginning, but got it under control. And then jumps into the seat a little quick, but other than that, it was very nice, smooth application of power. Arms are a tad far forward, but I think this is a Mojo 1, which you kind of had to give it the beans a little bit on the A's to get it to come up.
She was looking straight down as well, which, you know, check your wingtips, look out at what you're actually launching towards, and you'll have a little more control rather than just kind of looking straight down and just hoping things go well.
Yeah, let's see where her eye line. Yeah, she's looking right down at the ground. You want to see where you're going. Probably a little too much power there initially. You don't want to get into the power forward really area, because that adds a lot of danger. Just a touch is okay, just getting the prop moving, and you really want to wait till the wing is up and then start adding the power. Don't add power in the inflation during that initial inflation.
He's on the 16, so he's probably going to be faster than me.
Oh, this is Tucker and I demoing the XCs.
But I think I like my colors more though.
Very nice.
Can't really critique Tucker too much.
Right.
Okay.
Very nice. That was a super excellent correction with AJ, with that wing coming up cross, and like it was so fluid. correcting and then going into the launch. All right, what we got here?
Mechanical turbulence, 10 mile per hour winds.
So this is always going to be difficult, if not sketchy.
I remember this airport in Virginia. It was not ideal, especially for training beginners, because there were trees on every side of this grass strip, as well as multiple hangars and obstacles, as well as a fence that kind of split down the middle of the grass fields.
So far, good corrections, just heavy corrections here. So it's going off, he's doing the right movements, it's just too much for too long, and it swings over to one side from the other. And then it surges on him at frontals, but we have a good turn. I love seeing a turnaround. It makes me so happy to see someone have a failure like that, a frontal or whatever, but then turn around immediately. That makes me be like, okay, we can have these mistakes, but we won't break any gear.
Beautiful, keep coming, keep coming. And touch your power, touch your power. There you go, more power. And release. There you go, step right, pull left. And easy in the power, easy in the power. A bit of right pressure. Hold that right pressure. Still control that wing. There you go, beautiful. Looking good. Keep on running. Move the full power. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So rewind here. He was doing so well.
He was. He was taking his time. He was getting that wing under control, listening to every input AJ was telling him to.
It's clearly a little windier. He adds power super nicely there, super smooth. A little heavy on the corrections here. You can see it surging on him. You can see it going off to one side. And he adds power in this too. He adds a jump of power, but AJ does very nicely. He tells him to calm down with the power and get control of the wing. It's no rush to launch, right? You want to take your time with it. He does get control of it, and he starts adding power, smooth to full, and then just the classic lean forward, adding power. Where's it gonna push you, Jill?
Straight down to the ground.
Ugh.
Oh.
Ate some dirt there.
I
Yep.
think the wing could have frontaled and his loss of lift.
Yeah.
But I don't know that to be fact.
Let's see, if we look at the lines. Oh yeah, no. So you're exactly
Yeah,
right,
the
Reese.
A's.
You can see the A's right here start to go slack and bow backwards, those red lines. That means the wing is frontaled. He's no longer getting lift from the wing, as well as the prop pushing him down. So all of a sudden he's just overwhelmed with this downward force. Again, that's all kiting, actually, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because if we look a little bit earlier, we can see he gets temporarily lifted up, like he almost gets flying right here. So if you watch, boom, he gets light on the feet, and right as he goes in front of, right behind AJ. So he's heavy, that wing surges, picks him up a little bit, puts him back down, and he's adding power while leaning forward, which just pushes him all the way into the ground. So wing control, brake control is very important. If he had checked that surge with brake pressure when it had surged, when he felt the weight of the motor get heavier on his back, when he felt all that lift disappear, adding that brake pressure would have prevented that frontal, would have maybe kept him up and not in the dirt.
We're just kiting at this point, okay? It's going to tuck you, so pull, dig.
This one you can really tell the winds are stronger because as he's trying to run, he's not going anywhere. The wing's just holding him back. And his arms are sticking straight up. Ooh. He was very antsy to get onto that power and get up into the sky. He didn't have quite enough control of the glider, and he was just coming off the power, very herky-jerky. And so when he did come into a little bit of power and felt like he was catching a little bit of lift, picked those legs up and came right back down.
So this is a super good example of what I was just talking about with that pitch oscillation. You can see how he's getting slower and then faster, how his run kind of speeds up and he gets a little heavy, but then he slows down and he gets light, he gets that lift from that wing. That's the wing. You can't see it, but it's falling back and then surging forward, falling back, surging forward, and he's not catching that with the brake pressure. He's getting this temporary lift, set down on his feet, temporary lift, and then what he ends up doing here is he feels temporary lift, he thinks, oh, I'm in the air, but it's just because the wing is at a very high angle of attack. It surges forward to find its airspeed, but he's already decided, I'm done running, I'm picking up my legs, and he gets a little bit of hesitation here, goes, oh shit, comes off the power, and then, yeah, we don't have a successful launch. But it doesn't look like we broke anything. You just disappoint Fletch.
Which you never want to do.
see what happened here.
No brake in his left hand.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to control the wing.
Yeah, this is definitely a new student. Obviously, you don't want to go into a launch when you're only holding one brake. Yep, he realized right there. It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Get that motor going a little bit. Beautiful, right there, okay? Let's set that. Let's forget about that. Let's keep those arms wide, chest out. Let's take a nice big deep breath. Whew. All right, let's get ready to have some fun. Big old smile. Whenever you're ready, kite that wing to me. Beautiful, keep coming, keep coming. Beautiful, touch of power, touch of power, touch of power. There you go, keep it coming. And release. Step right, pull left a little bit. Little bit left brake, little bit left brake. There you go. Easy on the power, easy. That's good, that's good. Little more left. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Now, hand bigger, smooth, full power, full power.
Ooh.
Woo! That one was close.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good, too.
She was doing really, I think they were doing really well. Was controlling that glider. Seemed like she had really nice control, was inputting the power really well. And then up until the last second, when she was coming into that full power, let her feet stop moving, came right back down, because again, that wing wasn't quite ready to take the load up, and she bopped down a little bit, almost skimmed the ground, probably popped those brakes a little bit and saved herself, but it was very close.
Very close.
Something we see a lot.
All right, we got switchy, gusty winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour. All right, so we got a paradigm. This looks like Tom Kubat flying the balloon fest. It's clearly a bit windier because we reverse inflate.
We also know that this was probably around midday during the balloon fest, so you are going to expect some more switchy, gusty winds due to the thermals and the upper winds that are now making their way down to the ground.
Yeah, you can tell there. I mean, he inflated reverse. It popped straight up, and then it seemed like the wind just disappeared. He was running backwards, and the wing just fell back down. And he's decided not to mess around with the reverse anymore and try the forwards.
It is hard to run backwards with a motor on your back, so if you ever feel like you're having to run backwards too much, you're getting tripped up, just set the wing down and turn back around.
And you always lose speed on the turnaround. As you turn around, you pretty much like almost stop dead, so it's really difficult in light winds. All right. Very nice inflation. Good check there on that surge. Prevent it from overflying. When you're flying 2D steering like this, where your tip steering lines are tied in, you end up flying with this kind of, posture, this Jesus posture here that normally we say don't fly. We want these goalpost postures, but when you add in that new type of steering technique, when you're just trying to pull your main brakes, you end up doing this, and that's what they're doing here. So it's not really bad technique, it's just a different, more advanced technique.
Ooh, you can see this wing got probably hit by a little bit of turbulence. He took a minor collapse on the right side of the wing, but kept kiting it and it reinflated. But that's why you always want to check your wing tips, because something might be happening that you can't even tell is happening.
Oh, very cool. Late evening. All right, everything's going on at once here.
Yeah. Ooh.
Everybody's doing great. Oh, they're gonna touch? No, they were not next to each other.
Illusion. This is just more so fun to watch. We know all these pilots are super advanced.
Yeah.
Most of the things that are happening here are either turbulence or something happening with the wind.
They're all flying through each other's wake too.
Yes, that as well.
Field of dreams. So he's pointed right at hangars. This already seems like it's set up for failure right here. It's hard to tell the perspective, but it seems like too close. You get a little bit of deflation there. So let's go back. If he's set up into the wind, which you have to assume he is, looks like that Windsock is pointed this way. He's going to be definitely in the rotor of all those trees and hangars in front of him. And he gets a little like a cross breeze here that causes a deflation on his left side. This is likely due to all the rotor that is upwind of him. When that deflation happens and the lines go slack, you have to be able to feel this, all right? You're gonna feel the brake pressure start to, decrease on that side. You're gonna start to feel the pressure on that whole side go away, and that's when you need to turn around and face that side, all right? You would turn to the left side and get those lines away from that prop. Otherwise, this starts to happen right here. You get lines contacting the propeller. This is POV. You can see that wing is now like...
It's like, oh shoot.
It's like, oh, I don't got all my lines. Very weird launch there.
Yeah, it was weird. He kind of like hopped up.
And then did
One
something
leg
with
came
his
back
hands.
down, hopped up again.
I think something was going on with his brake toggle because you can see his left brake. He like reaches and re-grabs it, and then so.
He's a very
But
movie guy.
he got it done.
Got her done. It's Eric again. Oh no, this is
Start
Tucker
paradigm.
God.
Tucker.
Who's that?
It's like heresy to critique a Tucker launch.
I know. I mean, he never does anything to critique.
There's nothing to critique. What's going on here?
Oh,
what the heck is this?
oh.
Everything to critique.
Oh.
Goodness
Eric.
gracious. He gets off the ground now.
He does.
He's gonna be here soon.
That was just interesting, the way he turned from the wing. We got Ross.
So it overshot just a little bit there. You can see a little tiny frontal, but he does a great job slowing down the launch. I think he even may have killed the motor there because of that, and then reached over to restart because he has an electric start. So it was a perfect example of killing as soon as something goes wrong. But then, he realized he could kite it and save it, and then he's got a cool electric start, so he was able to restart and continue on with his launch. He's getting it nice overhead once it's straight. It's a little surgy there, so.
This is Ross, who we know has knee issues, so he can't run the best, so he does trip up a little bit, but he's doing his best, and
he gets it done.
Gets it done. Had a nice little foot drag there.
Yeah, these are all the experts.
An expert who's in our safety video.
Yeah. I like the gas tank.
These wings are just super light.
Big check there on that surge. Excellent.
All right, next up we got some backcountry PPG video. Some guy named Trevor, I think. Let's watch this. Ooh.
Very crosswind.
It was a good recovery, wasn't it?
It was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good recovery.
pretty good
if I say so
recovery.
myself.
That's one attractive paramotor pilot.
I mean, the wing is pretty.
What a guy.
Can't lie.
Excellent. This must have been very light wind, and must have just been a slight breeze out of that direction, and the wing comes up and it wants to go into that breeze, and you got to go with it. So, very nice. Super beautiful.
So pretty.
Turn and burn.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, collapse. Look at that. He'll recover.
Ooh.
Oh, shit, that was a weird one.
So as long as you keep those lines in front of you and away from the prop. I mean, you may have not turned around there, may have not been the most graceful of aborts, but you didn't get any lines on the prop, and that wing is going to be fine. Here's...
Oh, man, another weird wing inflation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the wing
it
is
seems like it's super switchy winds right now. You can
Yeah.
look at the
Windsock.
windsock was just pointed the other direction. Yeah, look at that. Like it's just pointed one way and another.
What in the hell?
Matt's probably sitting there rethinking his life,
Yeah.
watching
like, oh,
Eric
shit.
struggle.
Do I really want to do this? All right, so we got a consistent breeze now. It's those switchy, gusty winds that really make this hard.
Yep.
Oh,
Wearing snow gear in 5 to 10 mile per hour winds. I hate launching with gloves. You lose so much feeling of those brake toggles, and things just feel cluttered and big, and
it's hard.
yeah.
It's hard. All right. This looks like maybe Neil. It's just super, a little bit early on the release and a little bit too much brakes, but again, it's just so hard to feel.
God, it's foggy.
Very switchy.
You can see looks like it's snowing.
You can tell it's even though like we've seen Eric launch so many times by now, that one was like the most oscillated just because like you're feeling with all your hands being covered and everything is just so much more like dampened, and your feeling to like what the wing is doing is just a little bit off. Oh, beautiful.
Looks good. A little heavy on the brakes. It could have been a little lighter.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I probably would have taken off faster if I did. But it was gusty, bumpy conditions in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Wow.
Super
Super
fun.
check.
Super fun.
Super fun.
Very nice.
Trying to hook in with thick winter gloves, man, that can be a trick. One of the things that I usually do is I'll stick the gloves in between my legs and pinch them and grab and hook everything in and then put the gloves on. And then when you need the 360 camera, you just look at your buddy, nod your head, and shake your hand and say, gimme, gimme, gimme. Look at that. Give me the camera. But trying to open those carabiners, man, with thick gloves can be a pain. I find that launching with thick gloves is really hard when you have a line that sticks like that.
Yeah, that looked like it got caught on your strobe there.
It did get caught on my strobe, and then I just didn't quite have enough space to want to just send it, so I took a second to chill and set the wing down and reset up for a more appropriate launch in the conditions, which was a forward. Still used the 360 camera, which was sweet. But I have just so many things in my hands. I just try and like turn my brain off when I have thick gloves on and not think about the fact that I have so much in my hand and just think about what it is that I'm going to do and try and disconnect. And it's always a good time when a bush plane chases you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
But not
definitely
enough
made
lean
me a little
back.
jealous.
That may be like the coolest
Not
paramotor
enough
shot
lean back, yeah.
ever.
I think it
Right.
was probably the coolest paramotor shot.
If you are more of a beginner pilot and the conditions aren't super cold, I definitely recommend launching with your gloves off. Then once you get in the air, put your gloves on, because you do lose a lot of feeling in those brake toggles wearing thick gloves in winter conditions. So if you can stand having them a little cold for the first minute or so, I'd say put them on after you've already taken off.
It does depend on the temperature, because once you
Yes.
get cold, you
Once
tend
you're
not to
cold.
get warm. But one things that we do in the colder months with our classes is we always put the gloves on, and just starting day one, you're training with the gloves on so that that feels somewhat normal, so that when you are flying, you have the gloves on, it's like, well, this is all I know. And so, you know, if you're at home and it gets cold and you're wanting to still fly, maybe go out to the field once a day for a week with big gloves on and the throttle and just practice inflating and what it's like to have all the things in your hands, so that when it comes game time and you're going for it, you're not uncomfortable and it's not new. You know, that's one of the big things, is that it's new, and anytime something's new, you screw everything up.
Yeah. That's a good tip.
Yeah, and if you're fancy, I use heated gloves that are like glove liners. They're super thin.
Yeah, anytime in Utah that we fly in under 35 degrees, if you don't have heated gloves, you've got like a 30, 45 minute window. And the other thing that's super important, since we're going on a cold tangent, is making sure there's no breaks in your clothes. Everything is covered.
The heated gloves I use are the Power in Motion heated gloves, and you can actually buy them on the Aviator store. All right, what's next?
Normal 11+ mile per hour winds. So stronger winds for sure. If you're a beginner pilot, I would not recommend taking off in this much wind, but let's see how these launches go.
This should be exciting. So this may be a layout right here in the, just like a mushroom kind of layout. Helps minimize the tug when it inflates. But it also increases the risk of something being tangled, a cravat, because you don't really get a chance to spread your wing out and look at everything.
I do this especially a lot at the beach to prevent my wing from potentially like rolling around in the sand. If I set my wing out and then walk away to get my motor, if it's super windy, the risers of the wing will just drag along with the wind. So if you kind of set it up in a formation where those wingtips are pulled in, you're much less likely for that wing to get drug all over the place and for it to get messed up and get sand in it.
Oh, Micah.
Mika.
He's taking his time in reverse. There's no rush to turn around. Get the wing nice and stable first, then turn around and add power. That's a lot of thing that people, they mess up on the reverse. They turn around, they immediately start getting dragged backwards, That's because they don't add that power. Once you turn around, use that power to help you stay into the wind. Oh, very nice.
And toss up flats.
This is at the Great Salt Air. This is where I just was. I feel like it was months ago, but I can remember it like it was yesterday. This is a great spot to fly when it's windier because it's so flat for miles. This isn't really the greatest direction because obviously there's a mountain right there, but when it's coming from the lake, you can fly in some pretty high winds and it's still smooth and laminar because you got that big lake there to absorb a lot of the thermals. It doesn't do all the thermals, so it's still a little bumpy midday. I wouldn't do it midday, but in the evenings, it's very nice to fly in high wind. Same with the beach.
So he just had a little cravat there. He put the wing back down and pulled the fabric out from the lines to get that cravat out. Sometimes when you're kiting that wing, if you play with the brakes a little bit, you can pop that fabric out. But he decided to just set the wing down and do it on the ground.
There you go. Just take your time getting that wing in position.
Gosh,
That was,
it's so pretty.
honestly, he was really just was taking his time there so all his friends could come and then he was going to launch.
It's purposeful.
Yeah. Very nice. This is definitely stronger winds. You can see he doesn't really have to move forward at all to kite that wing.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice launch.
Beautiful.
This is where reverse is the only option
Cornelius.
in the winter.
Gosh, it's so pretty.
Oh, I love it. Oh, the skip launch.
Cornelius's
Trademark.
trademark hop skip launch. As soon as he's got that wing up under control and he comes into power, he likes to hop and skip up into the sky.
Very nice.
This is Matt Lubke.
Oh, captain, my captain.
Nice, man.
Yeah, awesome.
That was really good.
Took his time, got nice control. Super awesome. All right, we got switchy and gusty 11 plus mile an hour winds.
So talk about how you check for gusts. Obviously, you could say the windsock is moving around, but what about hand kiting? So if you can control your kite on the ground, is it reasonable to believe that you can control it in the air?
Somewhat, but the thing we're thinking about is just seeing how hard it pulls, and if we start seeing deflations try to happen, which obviously I want to try to keep it from happening. Right here, it's starting to oversurge, drops back out. It's just back and forth. So we know it's going to be somewhat challenging conditions, but it looks safe-ish.
Okay. Yeah, for you, because you have your own safety bubble.
Right, so I'm just going to take off. I'll fly low. We'll see if it feels too lumpy, and if it does, then we call it.
Cool.
Never, ever, ever push.
Yeah, we have a little rule here, only clip in if you're sure. So that just means like once you're clipped into that glider, well now you and the glider are one. All right, so if it is too windy and you can't control it, you're going for a ride. If you're hand kiting, if worst comes to worst, you can just let go of one riser and then it'll streamer down. You might tangle your lines up in your riser, but you can undo that and you're not at any risk. And it gives you a chance to, excuse me, gives you a chance to feel out the conditions without too much risk.
Another important thing he mentioned was that Eric has his own safety bubble. So it's important that you set your own safety bubble as a pilot and know what conditions you're comfortable flying in, and to not push those limits when you feel like you don't have the skill set for them. So, if you're out at the field with all your friends and everyone's skill set is a little bit higher than yours, and they go to launch in conditions that feel out of your safety bubble, don't be afraid to say, hey guys, I'm not comfortable with this, and just stay on the ground. No one will make fun of you for that, for having your own safety bubble and respecting your own boundaries.
Yep, 100%. You can look at that windsock behind them and just see it, change in directions and going whipping up and down. So it's very gusty. Clearly high winds because he's easily able to reverse, gets off the ground with no problem at all. You may have been holding the brakes in the wrong hand there. Something weird.
I just zoned out for a minute, so I didn't see.
Look right here. He like drops both of them
Oh, yeah.
and then switches
He
hands.
let goes. Yeah, he lets go.
That's a technique. I wouldn't do that.
Again, this is Eric. Obviously, he has a lot of flights under his belt. He pulled that wing up. Before he turned around, realized he was holding the wrong brakes in the wrong hands, so he had to just let go. He turned around, and as he was turning back around, he grabbed the correct brakes in the right hands. So if you have done a ton of kiting and you feel like you have the skill set to do that, that is your decision to make. However, if you're a beginner, maybe just bring that wing back down, switch which brakes into the right hands, and then restart.
So it's still a little bit bumpy. It's not terrible. It's probably like a 4.
An Eric 4, which is like probably a normal person's 8. Very nice. Probably just a tad bit crosswind. You could tell as he was running, he was kind of sliding to his right. Wind's probably pushing him a little bit from his left. Try to steer that up if you can. Always launch into the wind if you have the option to. Ooh.
I think I know this one.
So, for whatever
Maybe
reason, brought it back down. It's fine. We can bring it right back up from that. And we do. We fix whatever's wrong. Turn, lean back, add power. And then obviously, as people get more advanced, you'll see them jump into the seat pretty fast. Skip and go. It's very windy. Might be a line or something stuck. Maybe like a twig. It looks like there's a twig or something in his lines. He was trying to pump it out with his brakes, but at a certain point you can't. You got to bring the wing back down. Luckily, there was someone there to fix it for him.
So these conditions look very turbulent, very gusty, and you can really see how much kiting skill that Trevor has in this launch, because as soon as he pulled it up, he needed to be in action, and then continued kiting it over to his left before turning all the way fully around, and then again had to use a lot of input to control it on the ground before taking off. All right, Tucker got.
Oh, this is the end of our Viper XC demo.
I'm kind of watching him to determine how good this is going to be.
It was very windy.
The little noise he made, that was funny.
Can we get that one more time?
Yeah,
Hold on, I want to hear that again.
Oh my gosh. Is that you or him?
That was
Is that
me.
you? That's so funny.
Very windy. So that's what I should have done, obviously. I gotta, Tucker always does the right thing. So I brought it up like a normal reverse, like you would, the whole wing at one time into the wind. And obviously that's gonna go through the power band all at once. It's gonna pull on me really hard, which it did, but I was able to luckily get control. And then from that, I brought the wing over into a Cobra style position and brought it up gradually over my head. Now, Tucker skips all that nonsense and just goes right for the Cobra launch. Brings it up from the side so it gradually goes through the power band and it's in its flying low profile position the entire time, doesn't get yanked by it, and then can turn and launch without too much trouble. Yeah, that's windy. That's also windy. You can tell how fast the wing comes up. When it's super shoots up fast like that, it's usually very windy outside.
Look, here, step this way. No hands.
All right, just gotta show off.
Gotta check it just a little bit. And we're getting hit with a gust front.
And takeoff.
Well done. Oh, that's not the straight, that's the tip steer.
All
So
right.
if you feel like you can barely even get it down to the ground, it's probably too windy to be taking it up.
So if you're trying to get it down to the ground and you can't, it's usually because you're trying to fight the wing. All right? You're trying to hold your ground into that wind. It does not matter how, like what you're holding. If you're pulling on the A's or anything, if there's enough wind and you pull tension in those lines, the wing is going to want to fly. It's going to shoot up on you. You can be holding the brakes all the way down and trying to hold your ground, and all that will do is keep it in a wall, which will still want to pull you downwind. So if you want to depower your wing, you want to pull brakes all the way down, but you also got to remember to run downwind towards your wing, all right? As long as you're pulling tension in those lines, it's going to want to fly, so detension those lines.
Now it's stole.
This is stole.
So we got Brennan, one of our filmmakers here at Aviator.
Very nice inflation. He's getting good control. It's very windy. Look at that windsock. So he's getting a little control here. Turn. So if you haven't watched the stall videos, we're trying to do a little competition here, and technically Brennan just got disqualified. That's just our rules. If you don't want to do that, again, after you turn into forward, add power. All right, otherwise that wing is going to want to drag you backwards. So adding that power will help you give that, hold your ground. All right, so apart from our own competition rules, he does add power. So that was just for the competition.
Yeah.
But but yeah, that is super windy. You could tell, all he did was add power, and he was just going up there.
And he is on the beginner side of flying, and after he landed, he said he did not want to go up again. It was definitely past his safety bubble, and he didn't like how strong it was in the air.
Yep. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, who's this?
Oh, beautiful inflation. This is the same day. Here we have Jillian, professional herself. She's going to show us how it's done. Perfectly on that line. Ooh, step back. Look at that lean back.
So what I was trying to do was take off in as short a distance as I could. So as soon as I knew I had control in reverse, I turned around, and there was enough wind where I didn't have to run. So I could just stand there with the wing. And then I started bringing in power and leaning back against the power as I was bringing it in, so that I could hopefully just take 1 or 2 steps and get popped right up.
Yeah, your legs are just acting like a brake at that point. And all she needs to do is just pick up the brakes and whoosh. Super awesome.
Okay, here we go.
Here's Cobra launch. Excellent technique. Excellent choice for high winds, getting that Cobra launch off to one side.
Yep.
All right.
Still going off to one side.
So bringing it back down. Decided he didn't want to Cobra it. He actually wanted to get it yanked. So not sure what's going on here.
Just a little out of control.
Yeah. All right, we're back to Cobra. So you can tell when you need to hold brake as that wing's coming up, but you can tell you're pulling too much if it starts to curl. That's the first sign of a stall, is when that wingtip curls. So you can see, let's just go back real quick here. There you go. So right here, too much brake. You can see that wingtip starting to curl back. You release that brake a little bit. You don't have to release it all the way. Just don't, hold it down too far that it's stalling that wingtip out. Good control. Turn around. Oh, excellent. After the line. And hop, skip, jump. Super windy.
All right, that was 100 examples of launching in different wind conditions and in various locations.
Now, we want to emphasize this is not a training video, all right? This is for pilots who have already gotten professional training and simply want to improve their skills.
If you would like to learn how to fly paramotors, please visit us at aviatorppg.com. We are currently scheduling classes for 2024. We have lots of availability, or you can also search for local schools in your area.
All right, I'm Jake.
And I'm Jillian.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. That's all for the Aviator Show.
See you next time.